Hey y'all, so I thought it would be cool to work on our handmade papers. We got a stack of them going here, and let's go back and do some of our decorative paper techniques and what have you on the paper, so we can see exactly how the papers hold up on the gel plate, how they hold up to being printed on top of. And so part one, or step one, I'm going to just kind of play with the papers on the Posca pens. And then once everything kind of dries and settles down, I thought it'd be cool to come back and do some color staining on top of the papers that we use the Posca pen, just to see how that looks on the papers. And then probably I'm gonna do some mommy-gami too. So it's a multiple prong approach. But let me I love using this really thick one. I want some kind of really bold lines. I'm just going to put them on here without any color. I'm just going to, without any extra paint. Just want to put it down and use some extra paper here so I can get this up. What do I have that I want to work on? Right now, I'll just use some of this. Okay. Let's see what we get here. The one thing I can see, I probably shouldn't leave it down too long because the handmade paper is a little softer. Don't have a lot of sizing on this, so it's going to stick a little more. So you can see we got a little sticking there, but not bad. I'm just dabbing back up there because kind of squishing on it, a lot came out. Let's put this down. So I'm going to put it down, and I'm not going to let it stay a long time because I can see that I don't want the paper to stick, and it's pretty absorbent, so it looks like it's going to pull it up nicely. Yep. Wow, that's good. Getting that nice monoprint effect. So we can Posca right on it. Get two different types of effects, of course. More papers here. Some of them I'm doing different things with, although I definitely want to print on this. Okay, good. Here we go. So that's a pretty good pull. Because this piece is it's double thick. I could actually use it like as a book cover if I wanted to, because it's thick enough. I'm going to do something else too, but it also would be a great foundation just to print on top of it. I also want to be able to do the spray dyes on it. So these are all going to be kind of setting themselves up for that. So we just have ourselves a little fun printing. Kind of work through some ideas here. Now this didn't have much. Oh, actually, let me be patient with my little print. I actually like it. So at first it was skipping across the bottom, right? I wasn't getting a lot, but I like that because we have this wonderful grid paper behind it. So see how the grid paper makes sense of this, where if it were just white, we definitely have to go into staining it. And I'm still going to stain this, but probably with coffee or something like that. Just to get the paper to have a little bit more of an older look, but I definitely like how this print transferred. Definitely. Okay, good. We are back for another session in our Mudlarkers deck, and this is session 6. I'm doing 2 cards. because today I also was showing you how just to do mark making on the papers, how nicely they take the Posca pens on the gel plate, and the 𝐒𝐄𝐖𝐒𝐋𝐄𝐓𝐓𝐄𝐑 working directly on the plate. I really like the way we get that you know, that monoprint type of look. I really like that line. It's hard to get that any other way but with monoprinting. So this was really good. So we have some of those papers that I used, and then we're finding that we're able to use ink, 𝐒𝐄𝐒𝐋𝐄𝐓𝐓𝐄𝐑, and also fountain ink on our paper. So our paper is responding well to that. It's responding well to the like I said, the Posca pens and what have you. So far, everything that we can do on our store-bought papers, we're able to do on these papers. So it's nice to also kind of experiment and start moving through. So when you're making your papers, I want to encourage you to definitely continuing to use a lot of the DIY decorative paper techniques and also the gel plate techniques that I've shown you on these papers. Might have to make, you know, subtle adjustments and what have you. You'll see based on the absorbency, or sometimes the papers are can be a little fragile, like tissue paper when you put it on the gel plate. But it's just making those adjustments. Just play with it and have fun. So the first card that I made today incorporated some of the paper, the handmade paper that we had made in the technique video, where I used the Posca pen, did some scripting on it, and did overlaying on the Posca pen. And this is direct application. So this is what it looked like when I directly applied it. And this is sort of more of an indirect application. It has more of this sort of monoprint kind of look to it. Okay, so I wanted to work with this piece of found metal as we think about our mudlarking. It's some kind of copper coil or something. I don't know where it came from, but I found a number of them when I was out foraging. And so I like these. And when I was working with it, it sort of reminded me of the arch that's like on reliquaries and, you know, icon art and things like that. That sort of Madonna, you know, 𝐍𝐄𝐖𝐒𝐬𝐋𝐄𝐓𝐓𝐄𝐑 type of arch. And so, you know, it sort of has that bit of a, what do I want to say, a shrine feel to it as well. So I decided to stick with that and just keep that shape. And then take one of the found feathers that I collect, you know, in my journeys, and sort of make that sort of be the center or the feature of the shrine. So just giving homage to nature, to feathers. I love feathers anyway. So it's that kind of feeling. So with that paper, I had some of the, this tissue paper with mark making on it in black and white. And I felt that these two papers worked nicely together. So it's like always about deciding your base. So once I decided what my base was, then you can kind of build up from it. I knew that I wanted to work with the wire and the feather too. So I think the feather also kind of lends itself to like the papers that would best, you know, go with it. And I'm kind of was in a monochromatic sort of mood. So you could have used, I could have used a contrasting paper as well, but it was something about these two papers with the feather that I liked. The problem I ran into is when I would just put the feather down, it kind of got lost. Everything sort of got lost. But I didn't want to put something down that actually overwhelmed these two papers either. So of course, a good solution is this lace paper, because it's, when you glue it down, it's translucent. It has the holes in it, and so it allows you to see through it. And at the same time, it does act as a formal backdrop to hold the feather and the little shrine reliquary piece, you know, separate from the background. So that worked. I then had pulled this piece of, you know, silk velvet, just cut out stuff that I had some of, and I really like this color. And it was odd that this color came up for me in this palette. So even though I was in this sort of monochromatic mood, I did want a little bit of color. I did want a hint of color. And so this sort of jade color was perfect in my mind's eye, and I think a bit unexpected. And I really wanted to keep the texture of the sort of crumpled piece. So, you know, you saw me just put down the glue right onto the surface of the paper and then just kind of stick this down and then, you know, press it in place so that we get those sort of folds. Of course, we're getting things that are extending off the edge of the card. You guys know I like that. And then I decided, of course, to put this down using this craft paper tape that one of my patrons actually told me about. And I follow a link that she sent me for it. So I don't have the link right off. I'll see. I may have it on Amazon. I'll see if I can find it. But this stuff is really aggressive, but it's paper, so it tears nicely. It has this sort of oilcloth finish. And I know that this tape is really aggressive, so I just taped it right down. I could have put a little glue on it, but I don't think I needed it. And I think as this deck continues to evolve, we know we've come across things that we said were going to come back. And so kind of, because all this stuff has stayed on nicely, but I do think I want to add some applied threads. And so with that in mind, I will probably come back and do a similar thing with this. But you can see how everything is really holding up. Wouldn't have to worry about anything falling off. So I think at whatever point I decide to do that, I will come back and add some stitches here. But all in all, I like the way it came out. I like the story that it's telling. I just love how these found objects that are, you know, just find on your walks, and you find all these different places really come together and tell their own story. Also, I love these. I love our handmade papers, how nicely they're taking our Posca pens and our paints and things like that. Because these were a few of the larger sheets I did, just doing the 𝐒𝐄𝐖𝐒 brush marks on them. Some on the plate, some directly applied to it. And these to me are going to be amazing foundations to take some of my antique papers and collage with them. So I'll be working on these in some of the collage things that I do. We do a lot of collage on Patreon, but I really like that. So that worked out well. The next one, I started here. I always start with our Mudlarkers pieces. So this quill is a quill that I got a bunch of, not a bunch of them, but I got a handful of them on one of my hikes in central Italy a few years back. And I love these little things. And so I started with that. I wanted to work with that. I hadn't used them recently. And so I kind of saw this, and I had also pulled this out. I was thinking I was going to put it on some kind of way. Then it hit me that I could actually pierce the paper with the quill, and that'll be what'll hold the quill in place once we glue it down. So we don't have to worry about this quill like just gluing it down and hoping that it doesn't go popping off or something. When you think in terms of collaging three-dimensional pieces with other of your collage fodder and make them be a unit, it goes a lot further. Your ability to collage three-dimensional, and they look purposeful. It doesn't look like, oh, okay, now I had to figure out how to glue this on. So I'm always trying to think outside the box on ways to apply these found objects. And we talked a little bit about that in the very beginning, because you guys were asking me about different glues and stuff that I would recommend. And I think I said then, yeah, no, we'll just kind of get in the process, because I sort of have this kind of creative approach to how I like to glue on these type of elements. And that's on there nicely. It's doing really well. So I put the base paper down, which was some of this practice paper that I had done. I think when we did one of our DIY sections, I used this as a way to just clean the plate. And I knew that I was going to like the base paper, and then any bits and pieces that you're picking up, you know, just a little grunge kind of jelly print pickup, but I just love it. And then with the metallics. So that just became a good foundation, and I needed to find some pieces to kind of give interest, but not be too strong for the paper. So I have some of this paper that you've seen me work with before that I got from Mulberry Papers. In fact, this is some of the stuff that Patty had gifted me, but these are Patty Tolly Parrish. You know, she's over in the community sometimes, and she has her YouTube channel. Many of you already know her, and those who don't, you got to go check her out. She's just fabulous. She won a couple of years back. She had sent me a bunch of these paper pieces, and I've been tearing off this one. This is all I have left. But I thought that color, this is sort of like a celadon color. So I guess I was doing jade there and sort of a celadon here. And I felt that it blended in nicely without being too much, but it gave me a nice amount of text and texture. And then this is on the craft paper when we did the DIY, the dots on the gel plate. That series that we did. And it just needed a little, you know, like, so these dots kind of recreated what we have going on there, but not too much to take away from the main elements here. And then to kind of blend this with this, I felt it was like a little, it didn't have a nice transition. I used some of our shibori dyed paper in the black and cream, and then just a little bit of silk, so a little vintage silk that I have a little scrap of, and I ripped that, so we just got like a really, you know, odd little rip, and then put that down. So just sort of making this transition from this element to this element, but still enough that it, you know, everything's working together. And I feel like the pink of this goes nicely with the sort of the orangey pink that's in the paper, the sort of salmony color. And then when I was done with everything, I thought that this edge, I didn't think about this edge until I was done. And then it looked stark. It looked like it was too much space between here and the edge and nothing going on. So, you know, I went and grabbed this paper because this paper has found its way into a few collages already. I used it here. Maybe just one other right now. And I like to kind of do repeat papers because when you're done, you know, since we're kind of doing this as a deck, it's a group of collages ultimately. Just having some repeat elements here and there really help to bring your collection together. So just one of those little rules of thumb when you're thinking in terms of collections. You don't have to have it on everything. It doesn't have to be all over the place, but every now and then you can use and repeat some of the elements. And it just gives a really good look. So there we are. And as I've been talking to you the whole time, I was looking at this scripted piece, and this is from my latest stamp release. This was the free script that you guys got along with that stamp purchase. And I'm thinking, how cool. And this is sort of like it's a gold with a little bit of the ink is sort of that raspberry ink, but mostly with the gold. And this color, which I want to recreate, but I think it would look cool right here somewhere, I'm thinking. I don't know. Every time I'm looking, I'm thinking, wow, I could see that there. So I may end up doing it. But right now, I'm going to stop with that. You know, we have our 80% rule, so we're going to observe it. It's always cool to come back, but you don't want to overdo so that you go too far and you're like, I didn't like that. Why did I keep going? So anyhow, there we have it. There's our Mudlarkers cards for this week. And so we're experimenting with, you know, mark making on our handmade papers, just revisiting ones that we're familiar with just to see how they're going on our papers as we continue to not only create these Mudlarkers deck cards, but continue to work with our handmade paper. Next week, there'll be a new handmade technique coming up. So we're just going to keep on moving through these and technique and cards and collage and just having a great time. So if you're new to this channel, please hit the bell and hit all so you'll start getting all the notifications. I always do the Saturdays as premieres. And so if you're subscribed, you get the notification. Just hit that premiere it'll say notify me or something like that. And then generally what YouTube will do will notify you. I think maybe a day before, but definitely a half an hour before the show, so that you can remember to come on in, pop in, and then jump in the chat and hang out with us. We have a great group of ladies and gents over there, and we just talk it up and have a great time. So I invite you to be a part of that. People from all over the world. So it's amazing. You're going to find people that live right in your own backyard that you may be able to hang out, have coffee with, that kind of stuff, because it's about community. And please thumb the video up. Please thumb it up and say that you like it, so YouTube will continue to introduce this work to other people, and our community will grow. And yeah, we can just keep on loving on each other. So that's everything. So from my studio to yours, until next week, have a lot of fun, happy creating, enjoy yourselves, and so much love. Bye-bye.